So I'm Wallace Sermons. I'm the Chief Procurement Officer for the great state of Maryland. Now, thanks so much for that question. So procurement has always been a strategic lever for not only economic development, but for strategic coursing for departments. Is really the heartbeat of a government, where we're able to streamline processes and make sure that we're able to provide services and products on behalf of the mission to benefit our stakeholders, our common constituents, and our citizens. Procurement operates in such a way where it takes requirements and it creates services and it creates benefits, outcomes that support the state. We're able to do that through efficient processes and policies that are put in place to really look at more outcome-based derivatives than just requirements. We're looking at the end user and we're supporting our program offices by making procuring services and goods easier, right? And we do that through different procurement systems, whether your state's using an e-procurement system or ERP. In the state of Maryland, we use e-procurement systems because we're looking at not just a intake or source to pay, but we're looking at a vehicle that we can attach processes to, and we can kind of create that end-to-end process for our constituents. So from a procurement perspective, Government 3.0 is really the intersection between people and technology, right? Mission is obviously assumed, right, once mission has been clarified, but we're moving towards a data-driven society. We want as much data as possible, right? That's how we get from data to decisions, because we want to be more strategic in procurement. The days of just purchasing anytime there is a requirement, they're far gone. We're evolving to more performance-based, more outcome-based procurements, so we need as much information as possible for us to make the right determinations on how to procure products and services correctly. And with Government 3.0 is looking at the why, right? Like not what we're procuring, but why we're procuring it, so we have more context in the way to procure things. It's definitely about culture. The problem with procurement and just most processes in government is not really the technology or the process per se, it's the adoption. And you have to have a culture that's looking towards innovation, looking to do something different, and that can be challenging. So to get to a Government 3.0, you have to have the right culture, or you have to create such culture where people want to adopt change. And they can get used to doing things a different type of way because there's efficiencies that can be derived from it. It's putting pen to paper, and it's really clarifying, coming up with understanding where the parties work together in collaboration. We're doing so in Maryland through innovative processes such as the competitive procurement process. It was legislation that was passed that we went back through this current legislative session, which mirrors more like the SIPR program. There's other states that implement it in different ways, non-grants-based but contracts-based, where we can look at more white papers and abstracts that can get us to the finish line faster. You find this in a lot of DoD culture or R&D heavy culture on the federal side through CSOs or through other transactional authorities, different statutory tools that allow them to be more flexible. You'll see this generally probably even going from a Government 2.0 going into a Government 3.0 through the use of these larger vehicles that you can operate at the secondary competition level, where you may not have your future defined up front, but you have enough space, enough wiggle room where you can redefine it at the secondary competition level, whether it be through task order or work order, whatever instrument you're using to then deploy the actual work. It also allows you to work in an iterative way. Partnering. I think it's a collaboration, and I tell people, just like life, it's all a team sport. We can't expect government to have the answer for everything, and this is why we procure products and services. There's experts that exist in our ecosystem that we partner and we come up with processes to slowly move the needle, even if it's fractionally, project by project. If it's something where we're redoing a process not being afraid to fail, right? One of those concepts that we heard maybe about 15 years ago in the Department of Defense was fail fast. And it's one of those things, we can think about it over and over again, we can have the conversations, but you have to act. And even if acting isn't wholesale, where we're kind of taking a fragmented approach and we're moving piece by piece, it's moving forward. We're doing that with the executive order through Governor Moore's leadership in the state of Maryland, even with our e-procurement system. We have an executive order that came out, specifically Section C of that executive order, that envisions an end-to-end procurement process where we're looking at each portion of the procurement process and we're coming up with innovative ways to make it more efficient, make it more effective. We've done so recently with our milestones. We once had our milestones, our procurement acquisition lead time. We once had a procurement lead time of 277 days. We've gotten that down 43% for routine procurements, where we're at 120 days. I've heard from others where procurements are still taking a year or more to do, right? For us, that would be more on the super complex side of the house. But our routine procurements, we've taken different pieces of the procurement process and we've kind of reimagined it and to revitalize it to bring down that or reduce that procurement lead time. It's really the use of it is twofold. It's how we're imagining requirements, and it's also how we're deploying it through e-procurement systems, where every new system now has some type of AI module, but the government's not commercial. We have to think about other biases that could be included, especially when we're looking at open universe AI. So first we want to kind of frame it as closed universe, where we're taking our existing data and we're able to better manipulate it, right? And we're able to automate things. So not just AI per se, but also just emerging technologies in general, better to utilize those or deploy those through our systems to help not only our end users, right, but also our users of the system. So we have a process in place for them, not only to educate them, but also to standardize our processes. So we have similar outcomes when we do similar things, and even from our existing data to better utilize it. I see that deployed through things even such as goaling, when we're looking at socioeconomic goals, looking at like requirements, going back and seeing what goals were placed on it before, and then having AI make a determination of what has changed in the universe of contracting. What has been the trend? Are we seeing a downward trend in our goaling? Maybe it's the placement of our requirements. Maybe we need to break up those requirements into more subcontractable elements. But AI can make those types of determinations and move as requirements come down the pipeline. So putting all of our data in one place, letting AI manipulate it and make up determinations that maybe the human mind is missing, or maybe the human mind could assist in, because we still want a human-centered model, but we want to deploy it through the use of AI or other smart technology, emerging technology trends.